Well, the verdict is in. We've been using Maggrat in my alliance all season, and she's insane. She's, when paired with Zeta, the strongest combo in the game, and I don't even think it's controversial or close to say it. So in this video, I'm going to give you the Maggrat guide you need and deserve. You use her as the primary, you pair with Zeta, and you're going to get some sick wins. Let's get into it. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And I was not expecting Maggrat to be as insane as she is, but here we are and she is completely busted. So in this video, we'll review, as we typically do, the skills, the talents, the pairings, and of course the pet. And the pet is really kind of unusual on this one. I expect we'll get a new pet for her, but until then, what do you use? Now the thing that's really crazy is the passive first skill. No active skill on this hero. What does she do? Well, she'll do normal attack damage boost of 450% every 5 attacks. The Maggrat's Legion will do variable healing. It's a very small amount of healing, okay? And upwards of 5% healing based off your normal attack damage. And then when you get variable healing triggered 5 times from this, then boom, you're gonna do 450% extra damage, which is nuts. You can only trigger this variable healing once every second. So you can't try to pair up with Syndrian to make that really pop off. The next skill, you have a 40% attack boost. Whenever you get variable healing, you have a 30% chance to give you that 40% attack boost. The next skill, you have a 15% normal attack damage boost and 20% hit points for your marksman. Obviously, this is a marksman hero. And lastly, when Maggrat is garrisoned in a city or stronghold, they receive healing every 10 seconds, a healing factor of 200, and they gain 10% attack for 5 seconds. Now look, I don't really like healing for garrisoning other than in a game mode like Roots of War. I've talked about that in a number of videos. I don't need to go in depth on that here, but the point is that you could just drop more troops into the garrison, and that's the same thing as having a heal, right? Unless you're in Roots of War. Then you can't just be hoarded kind of nearby and run troops back in constantly. Now the final skill here is the Awakening. You get all the skills, and it'll take her active skill, and instead of doing 450% more normal damage, it'll be 500% more normal damage. But the thing that's insane about this is very quickly, you do burst damage to your enemy, and if they walk away from you, who cares? You had a 500% normal attack against them. That's insane, all right? That is why Maggrat is really working. Can you do some extra things to get the Truth Teller synergy? Yes. Do they matter? Not particularly. Is the healing on Maggrat insane? Not particularly, I would say, but the reports have been insane. I'm gonna have my editor slice in a bunch of pictures of how insane these reports can be, and like, yeah, they're gonna be like the best reports you have by like 25 to 50% of merits. It is crazy. Now to pull down these reports, here are the talents that I would recommend, all right? And big shout out to Beowulf, who sent me the pictures of his reports, and also a version of the talent build that I have slightly modified. You're gonna start, of course, with attack, march speed, and then naturally the health. You take Transforming Spirit, which is going to give all units in your Legion 1% hit points, and all buff effects granted through rage skills are increased by 5%. I think that's actually a bug and getting changed in the next patch, but whatever, because she does not have a rage skill, all right? From here, you go and you get overall attack, and I personally would recommend the march speed. You'll double back later and get adrenaline rush for more normal attack damage. You get some attack on the way, which reduces your skill damage, but you don't care, you don't do any. Then you're gonna take Invincible. And this is where we deviate from what I would say is a normal precision build. We're gonna go and get Cool Under Pressure, and we're gonna take the bottom part of the tree, Intrepid and Unstoppable. But we're gonna ignore this over here, because if you pair, as I'm going to recommend with Zeta, then you don't actually have any rage skills. So you don't need rage generation at all. Then finally, you're gonna take Mighty Slash, and you're gonna double back to put 1 point into Dedication. Dedication makes it so you have a chance to heal your Legion when you do a normal attack. Healing gives you a chance to get attack. Very cool. So that's the sort of little synergy there. Between those two synergies, I mean, you could go for more attempts to get the attack, but that's pretty legit. Now, I thought at this point it'd be a good idea to go back in the marksman tree, and you're gonna get the attack and also fully loaded, more normal attack damage. But there's obviously a lot of flexibility over here where you could say, hey, I'd rather march faster than have more normal damage. damage. In that case, go get marksman speed over here. In fact, already I see one inefficiency that you should absolutely change, which is that you should remove 4 points over here in overall speed and just put them over here because it's just more speed. It's just more speed. I do really like the march speed, but like, hey, want to get some extra march speed for free? Put the points over here. The only downside is I think you want to go into this tree first, and the first thing I want is the march speed, not the normal attack damage. So you might want to do a talent reset potentially, depending on how you want to play this, all right? Because those last couple points, you only really get them toward the end of the season. Now from here, we can get a look at who you pair with. And to be honest, I think it's just Zeta. She is going to go and give you a normal attack damage bonus, which is fantastic. She's got healing synergy. I mean, I've reviewed the two of them together when we were talking about their release into the game, and it seems really obvious. The other option that I feel like would still be outstanding is probably a Hosk. Hosk is going to give you extra troop capacity, which will boost your normal attack damage. He's also going to make it so that you're going to stack up your crit rate. And that means periodically you're going to crit for just an insane amount. Now that said, Zeta also does something similar. So like, Hosk is fine. I don't know, man. If you're going for Maggrat, I think you're going for Zeta. And it just feels like in this game, when they release heroes, they're meant to be paired together. It just is what it is. So I personally wouldn't recommend working on Maggrat unless you were going to work on Zeta as well and just put them together. Like any other normal attacker could be fine. Like for example, I mean, you could use Freygar, right? She's going to give you crit rate. Could be cool. I feel like I talked to somebody who tested this though, and they found that the timing was perhaps off a little bit. Maybe it was ideal. I don't know. I can't remember the overlap of getting the normal attack crit rate with then having Zeta, or rather Maggrat, doing that like 500% normal attack and then you crit on it. That would be kind of insane. I imagine Freygar would be fine as well. Now, in terms of the pet though, here's where things get really kind of weird. So if you're in a season that has some of these talents, if you take Suppressive Fire, you're putting a debuff onto the enemy every single turn, which means a Berserk Fey Drake is amazing. But if you do Maggrat and Zeta together, the Berserk Fey Drake only triggers 2 seconds after the Deputy uses an active skill. You don't have any active skills in that combo. So weirdly, the Berserk Fey Drake doesn't work, and that leaves you with either the Night Rock, or if you're doing big group fights, you could do a Sand Lizard. All right. Now, the reason I recommend the Night Rock, if you have Zeta in the mix, is that she's going to give you some crit rate. It's not a ton. I don't love it. I think you could do better, but I think it's not bad. A Night Rock would work. The other thing that I think, as I was mentioning, could work is a Sand Lizard, and this is more of like a squad goals thing. If you're bringing a lot of marksmen into the field at the same time, you could go the angle of healing the squad, and this is not a perfect build. I made this build back before you could even pick where the skills went, which is really crazy that it worked that way ever, but here we are, and this is something you could go and create. I would not necessarily replicate this, although it's not terrible, and the only thing that is a little bit of a bummer is that this variable healing is not going to accelerate the pace with which you get that 500% damage ability. A little bit of a bummer. Right, on the first skill on Maggrat. The other thing we do need to talk about, however, is the artifact. And the artifact is kind of a weird one. Obviously, there's a simple choice here. If you want to go the route of just super overpowered and you have the money to go and do it, then I will say very obviously going and getting a Gilded Crossbow is the play. I mean, this is designed for the combo, increases your Legion's enemy hit point bypass up to 7%, increases 0.7% of your highest buff stack. So if you have Zeta in the March, this is what you use. But what some of my Alliance members have been using and have been finding to be extremely good is actually a Heart of Kamasi, which sounds weird, but it's going to give you marksman unit defense and is going to give you a physical cane boost and an onslaught normal attack boost. Actually not bad. And so if you bring 3 marksman pairs, which is extremely achievable now, yeah, that's going to do really, really well. Of course, there are some other more free-to-play options, although this is pretty free-to-play friendly. You could be doing a Shadow Blades. Marksman attack does big skill damage in front of you, right? There are some choices that you could make, but I think especially if you have long-range warfare, being able to attack from afar and buff yourself with Heart of Kamasi and give yourself defense here seems to make Maggrat super freaking tanky and sustainable. I think it's a pretty damn good substitution. If I were snapping off a substitution now, unfortunately, I've traded off a bunch of these to skill up other artifacts, which now feels silly, though it'll take some time before I can go and do that. Perhaps I'll just shift around some artifacts to take advantage of Shadow Blades and just call it all right. Of course, if you've got any other tips or tricks for Maggrat, definitely let me know down below in the comments. I feel like she's an absolute banger and really sets the pace for Generation 3 heroes to be super powerful. I expect she'll be in the daily offer in the next month or so, and at that point in time I'll buy her from the daily special offer. I'll work on her slowly, and I feel like that's gonna be just fine. All right, I can put a couple more skills on her because I am using my VIP daily to get her, and in the long run she is a must include, and she is a snap include if you're into marksman for sure. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here, consider subscribing. If you're looking for more information about pets, I'll have cards in the end screen for some of my favorite pet videos. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies.